Hi fam, I'm back for a 5th installment. Will it ever end? Who knows? I've got traffic happening right now because it's 5 something in the evening, and I also have laundry drying. Is this an ideal time to be filming? No. My friend's also on his way here, so let's do it. First deck, the Lubanko Tarot. Lubanko? You see it. I don't know. This was a Kickstarter. Nothing looks like this. You're like, what does it look like, BB? Because I can't see it. Here are the backs. Nothing looks like this. It's so beautiful. I love this art type. I don't know if you just call it modern illustration or if there's a word for it. If you know the word for it, let me know, because I'd love to be able to describe things better. English actually was my strong suit. I don't know what happened. I think you lose brain cells, not just from doing like hard drugs. You just do it from like living your life. Can anyone attest to that? I mean, right? Like you have the most brain cells you ever gonna have when you're born. Is that how it works? Anyway, I'm too young to not be able to describe decks, but I love the color palette in this. It's like cool toned sea greens, yellows, blues. Wow, this excites me a lot. I really love architecture. There's a lot of movement. Some people don't like the graphic nature of this or the dark nature of this deck. I like it. It's like a dream. Sometimes dreams aren't that nice. Sometimes they are. I know there are a ton of walkthroughs of this deck on YouTube, so I guess I shouldn't spend a lot of time on it, but I'll just sit here and look through every card. I haven't gotten the chance to use this on clients yet, so I don't know what kind of reader it is. I've done a couple readings on my own, but that was kind of earlier when I first got it. But I'm really, really looking forward to using it more. Okay, Dreaming Way. I have gone like back and forth with this deck, seeing it online and wanting it, not wanting it, thinking I'm gonna use it, thinking maybe I won't. But I finally pulled the trigger. These are the backs. Notoriously kind of odd backs for what the fronts look like. I think I read that the artist is Korean, and if that's true, it makes a lot of sense because even though this deck does look a little bit like Renaissance-y, that's a technical term, or medieval even with the shoes, a lot of the clothing pieces look like Korean fashion items that I've seen by like independent Korean designers. Let me see if I can find one. I love the watercolor feel. I love the like polka dots everywhere and the checks, and the checkered is not only very fashionable right now, right? But it's also like reminiscent of my childhood, and I think you can see like a running theme through my collection is like if it reminds me of my childhood, I have to have it. Like I'm insanely nostalgic. This is a great 7 of Cups. Let's see. Like this reminds me of like someone's kitchen in 1997. Do you see it or do you not see it? it's just, and the sunflowers, like it's so reminiscent to me, and it's odd that this is a more modern, like a more recent deck, I guess, because it reminds me of probably a decade before it was made. I feel like the silhouettes a lot of times, like, okay, perfect example. This outfit, definitely have seen it on a Korean fashion site. Things like this, the ways that clothing is layered and the silhouettes, I really like that added piece. I was going to describe this deck as dreamy too, but then that didn't feel very creative since it's called the Dreaming Way. Like this. It's a good one. I'm happy that I added it, and I definitely see myself getting use out of it. The next is an oracle. It's the Rumi Oracle. The pictures in this oracle remind me of, here are the backs, not my favorite, but they remind me of like the Shimmering Veil or the Davis of Creation Oracle. This has more like figures that you can obviously see are humans or other things. I love this one. But it's very impressionistic. Things that you can dive into, right? And then the book, the guidebook, has really in-depth descriptions. Like sometimes too much, sometimes a lot of words. But I thought maybe I wouldn't use this that much, but some of these images are just so undeniable. I love the colors in this. I think my favorite ones are the ones that don't have figures like this, you know? Ones that are more like this one on the left. So that's Rumi. Rumi is, I don't know if he was Turkish. I know he was from that like area. And he was like a philosopher and a poet. And some of my favorite love quotes are by Rumi. Okay, so the next one I have is Spirit Cats. This one is weird and silly and like fantastical in a way that like is not congruent with the rest of my collection, but it's just too cute. And anytime I've used it, these are the backs. They have the description there, so no guidebook needed. But anytime I've used it, it just, I don't know, it just proved to be so true and so insightful and empathic. And you just can't deny these little kitties. They're too cute. He's a moody boy. This is, I think I got this on the artist's website, but I wanted to say this was mass market. I don't know if you can get this on Amazon or in a bookstore. Or maybe bookstores because they stock independent decks too. I'm not sure. But if you Google Spirit Cats, I do believe that you can still order it. All right, an exciting one, the Omni Tarot. I have this cut in it, and I'm sure that I did that, and it's really disappointing. I'm so mad at myself. This one I think I found on Instagram before it was even finished and before there was a Kickstarter for it, and I was following Olivia's artwork very impatiently. This is one of my favorite devils. I have to go back. I sound like a broken record, but these limited color palettes, they just do it for me. They're so stylized. I love the ribbons around the sticks. And the use of like subtle color changes in the background. Like the fade. These are some of my favorite colors here. So seeing them all together, it's just so dynamic. I think that this deck is really expressive. Like if I want to tap into my eclectic, like Dadaism side, right? I like the snakes. Another one, like this color scheme specifically is so good. And like, look at her face. It's giving, like it's giving a lot without needing to do a lot, you know? I think that this was really well thought out, and even though it does very much follow RWS, like it's its own thing, it's its own vibe. Like you want to take this to a kiki, you know? You want to take this to a party of like modern intellects who want to talk about philosophy and art. That's how I feel about this deck. I love the hats. They feel like Spanish style, especially this one with the boots. And the beret. Oh my gosh, they have lots of hats. I just realized that. This is like the art house deck, you know? She went to art school. All right. Next is Vision of the Muse Oracle. So this goes along with the Lioness Oracle Tarot, which I will not be showing in this video. Here are the backs. I'm a sucker for a rose. And I'm a sucker for some jewels. So this is my wheelhouse right here. I do really like these keywords. I think that they're different than a lot of other decks. So let me find kind of the ones I'm talking about. I mean, easily perception is one that I don't see all the time. The colors in this are so saturated, so deep. Jewel tones are, I don't know. I mean, I was watching, who was it? Oh my gosh, I'm gonna lose her name. Okay, I'm gonna keep going. Danny Mystic. I was watching her collection, her like 2021 collection, the other day, and she was talking about, you know, how and everyone knows, like, she consistently really loves muted color schemes, and I think I do too. There are a lot of muted color scheme decks that I'm really into, but then stuff like this, like, I can't say no. Like, I can't say no to this. And a lot of the decks that she was like unsure about, this is one. This is it took me a whole deck to put, so maybe there aren't a lot of different like keywords, but I really love this keyword, and I really love the image that goes with it. But yeah, she was looking at decks that, you know, she wasn't sure about, and she was saying how they were really bright and there was a lot of colors going on, and like, maybe this isn't always bright, but it's really saturated and really deep. I have to point out pearls because they are my birthstone. And roses are actually my birth flower too. And anything with pearls, I'm kind of like a magpie for as well. So that is the Vision of the Muse Oracle. This is one of my favorite decks in the whole wide world. And I don't think I'm alone in that. I found Yoshitani's art on Pinterest and saw that, like, recognized that one of them, I think she had released, you know, a couple cards that she had done already. And then immediately, like, found her website. And my Gemini card. I immediately found her website and signed up for her email list and purchased this deck and the book that goes with it as soon as I could. I love the dedication and time she put into searching, like researching myths, folklore, fairy tales, deities from all around the world, and trying to find their origins. And when there was kind of any dispute or like a dual origin, she states it in the book. Even the little white book has a lot of information in it, but the big guidebook is so beautiful. I watched a video of hers probably on Instagram. It was probably a reel about color and how over years of practice she really refined doing color palettes, and it really pays off in this. Like, it's so gorgeous. It's so easy to see what's going on. Like, if I did path working, I feel like this is where I could do it. Excuse me. Like, this has become a beloved deck for a reason. I love the style. And in a lot of decks, you'll hear me say that. So sorry. I should probably have gotten water. You'll hear me say that I don't really like the way that the people look in the deck, and this is not the case. This is so beautiful. This is the style I want to see. I mean, not the only style, but it's a good one. I love, this looks Russian, the folklore, the imagery, the rich imagery of Russian folklore. So amazing. The next deck I have is the Tarot de Femme Erratique. I know I lucked out on this one because it is out of print. It is wonderful. I kind of wish the borders were the same color as this. Like, I prefer that over this brown that's supposed to match the sepia, but I feel like it doesn't make them stand out, but I guess it makes them look more vintage. So, I mean, it is what it is. I like this deck because I feel like it does the work for you because the descriptions are like already telling you what to do. But all of these photos are so cool. It does have the suit up at the top and the number. Oh, I always forget to do this, but like, nudity warning. If you're on my channel, always nudity warning, okay? This is like more of a novelty deck. I don't know how many of the photos are really super reminiscent of, you know, the meanings of the cards, but it feels like a relic. It feels very special and rare, and it has this like exciting energy like in your hands. And I think that's really cool because it's like, that's kind of what these photos did for whoever had them. I mean, in a different way, right? when these photos were new, like they were meant to have that really exciting, sexy energy, and that's kind of how it feels. It's a great deck. I'm sorry if I'm quiet today. My brother's home and I think that makes me feel inhibited. The next is the Voyager Tarot. I just got this, even though I think the post kind of ruined it. Ooh, I just dropped the box. Okay, here are the backs. Surprise! Another collage deck. I feel like I don't have a lot of thoughts about this deck yet because I just got it. But I do like collage decks. I do like vintage decks. I like this one. I don't know, and I feel like, I mean, I like it, but I'm already questioning it. It's so bad. I got it secondhand from Facebook, but I saw a video for the Telesma. I really do like this one. And now I'm like so excited about that, and I kind of would rather have that one. Not to say that this is bad. This is a great deck. Just that I kind of got it and then had inspiration for something else. Like, you know, it's like bad timing. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm gonna pass this on already. So if you or anyone you know would like the Voyager Tarot, let me know. And maybe we can switch, or maybe I can sell it to you. The next deck I have is the Existential Tarot. Is that what it's called? Yeah. This is a tarot deck that's like psychology based. These are the backs. You know me, I love a black and white moment. I also love a sketch moment. If you saw one of my earlier videos, then you would know that I have the Da Vinci Enigma, and that's all sketches too. The names have changed, and I kind of like that because this feels like a deck that I'm not going to do big spreads with or readings for other people. This feels like a personal practice deck to really dive into as far as the book, the relation to my own emotions in that moment or whatever I'm dealing with. We have will, reason. Did I skip one of them? Action. I love that there's stars. How cute is that? What was the fourth one? Emotion. Our flowers. Okay. The Wild Goddess Oracle. This is a brand new one to my collection as well. How cute is this? The book does come out. I don't know. It's very close. The book does come out. I think I am going to keep my deck in that big box. Usually I don't, but I like that box. And I do have like a curio cabinet where I keep all my decks. So these don't have a back really. They have their descriptions on the back. But these are goddesses and archetypes, and I adore it. I just learned of this deck recently, and I don't remember whose channel I saw it on. But I don't really do goddess work, and this felt more authentic to me, more relatable, more accessible, because I can definitely relate to or identify and completely understand these archetypes that may be depicting goddesses, right? But I don't necessarily have to know the mythology of a certain goddess to understand what it's trying to say to me. And I am excited to read the book and read about, you know, the specific characters in this deck. But I like that I have that option, that I don't have to use the book, you know? And I don't think it says who, yeah. I don't think all of these characters are goddesses. I think there might be a few scattered in here. And I don't know if it's going to mention them in it. I mean, in the book. We'll see. Either way, though, I think this is a great deck, and I think it'll be really useful in my business and in my practice. That was the last one that I had set aside, but I feel like I have more time. So let's put this on pause and maybe I'll grab a couple more. Hello. Okay, I'm back, and I have just a few more that I keep in bags. The first one being the Enchanted Tarot. That's what the backs look like. These are my favorite backs. I specifically wanted this edition. I think it's the first edition. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I know that the like anniversary edition that came out recently has the color borders, which I'm not a fan of, and I think has different, maybe they don't have different backs, but I know they have color borders, and that was kind of a no-no for me. This deck is unique in the sense that it uses imagery mixed with like physical fabric, and I don't want to say tapestry, but it creates a tapestry, right? With knits and trims and sequins and like lurex threading, which is like the metallic threading, medallions. This feels like kind of like original scrapbooking, you know? It has a very like magical element to it, and a vintage element that I really appreciate. And it is like, I don't even have words for how accurate of a reader this deck is. My favorite place to use this deck is on a plane. Ugh, I always have to point out swans. Because once I think the first time I read with this deck, I was on a plane with a friend of mine who, I think she's the one who got this deck for me. Or no, maybe I gave it to her. That's what it was. It was her deck. I didn't even have this deck yet. I love that the whole cups suit is hearts, because hearts are my favorite shape. And of course, like when I was in elementary school and I had like a cool little club with my friends, and we all had a symbol, mine was the heart, of course, because I was the Juliet of the group, right? But anyway, I was on a plane with my friend and we read each other with her deck that I bought for her. And it was so good and beautiful that, and such like a memorable thing, that I always like to bring this with me on a plane if I can remember, you know? Definitely an old deck. Definitely one that's been around YouTube for a long time. Sometimes doesn't get the recognition that it deserves. Sometimes it does. Haven't seen it for a minute, so glad I could share. Okay, the next one is the Otherkin Tarot. I don't have the box with me. It's in a bag. I know you've heard me say this before, but I love the negative space in this one. I love the watercolor. I guess going through my collection too, I didn't realize what a fan of animal decks I am. And I don't know what that means. Like there's this unconscious part of myself that's like, yes, animals. Like, I don't know, people just, animals are a great drawing subject, and I appreciate the art that people make that includes them. People have been weirded out by these like anthropomorphic figures, but we talked about that in my last video, I believe. Not really a bothersome thing for me. It's like, this deck is like air and water. That's how I feel about it. Like even the earthy ones, no, it's air and water. Like a balance of emotion and intellect. Also, I love me a good mermaid, or merman, or merfolk, and there we are. This deck feels like stories. I know it's pretty minimal, like, you know, in its vignettes, you know, but it feels like a story. So that's the Otherkin. I don't have the Line Strider, but my, oh no, I do. I have like a mini like travel version of the Line Strider that my friend recently gave me, but I did give the regular size Line Strider to my mother as a gift. Another warning for a Sussy deck coming up. This is the Tarot Erratique, not to be confused with the earlier deck that I showed you. This is an Etsy deck that I found recently and was lucky enough to be able to get because it is in stock. It's a collage deck. It's an erotic deck. It uses a lot of vintage imagery from the 70s, 60s, 80s, maybe even the 50s too. I mean, maybe earlier. That looks earlier. That looks 30s or 20s. Love it. A little psychedelic, a little groovy. Very explicit. Very colorful. Very funny. Queer as well, which is really cool. I mean, I know that's not like a commodity, you know, nowadays, and that's wonderful that it's not, but I guess it still is important to mention, you know. My apologies if you have delicate sensibilities. I am trying not to hold this very close to the screen. You can shut it off now if you do not like this kind of thing. This is the last deck that I'm gonna share today. Again, really sorry for the low energy. I just needed that today. I hope this is more zen and less like depressing. But I'm really excited to use this deck. I think it's really wonderful, and I think it's gonna look really good as like a spread. Let's see if we can just do like a 5 card or something. Oh, that's so funny that I just found out that my Decan card in astrology is the 9 of Swords. And I'm like, wow, that's so unfortunate. Meg, what is happening? I was talking to Rose Honey Ritual about it. I'm like, I don't know if I like the tarot associations for those. Yeah, it just looks, I guess I'm not going to have room for this. How should I do this? We'll do this. Yeah, looks sick. Okay, well, thanks for being my friend. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being curious. And my mom's coming, so I gotta go.